regarded each other's houses as home. And I was in and out of our neighbour's house all the time, and vice versa. So I think I became more introverted initially, but that wasn't natural either, because that was, I'm a bit of both. So being totally introverted didn't suit me, and being very sociable didn't suit me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there were these two extremes, and I was kind of going from one extreme to another, when actually I was in the middle.
And presumably now you can switch it around. So, for example, my husband, when people see him out and about networking, they say, "Oh, he's an extrovert, for goodness sake," and he's not naturally. It's not. He has to kind of go, right, I'm going to put my extrovert hat on now, and I'm going out and doing that, and gets on with it. And
I'd say I'm still kind of an introvert, but once I get talking to people, that initial kind of resistance disappears very quickly, and I can be quite sociable. I'm still a quieter one, but not so quiet that I can't mix with people. And I seem to have a much better balance on that. And with all the work that I've done, it's much easier to start talking to people as well.
So going through all this wonderful NLP learning and personal development, you eventually came across emotional intelligence, and it's kind of something.
Not by that time. When I came across it, it wasn't really even a word that existed much. And it's really only in the last 10 years that it's become a buzzword, and now businesses are talking about it. But at that time, the way I came across it was more by accident, because I was really curious about these different types of courses. And so I just threw myself in to whatever I found. And through that, I came across tools which were even better than the ones that I'd learned. Because whilst I was getting tremendous results from using NLP and hypnosis and all the other things that I'd come across, I realized that quite often the results didn't last, that after a while the effects would wear off. And also with the people that I was helping, because I love to help people, and I realized that I seem to have a talent for helping them. And a lot of people were encouraging me to actually go and get trained up even more, so that I could help people even more professionally. And the disturbing thing for me was, whilst there was change, quite often they seemed to slowly revert back to where they were. Not always, there were people that changed and they never reverted back, but a lot of people, more than I was comfortable with, seemed to revert back. And then the kind of the thought was, either I'm not very good at what I do, even though people say I am, or there's something that's not quite there with the tools that I've got.
I think this is one of the continuing conversations that people have, where they go to these amazing Unleash the Power Within weekend, and they have the rah and everything's fantastic and it's brilliant, and then they come splat back down to earth on Monday morning and like, what the hell was that? And then you have to, I remember Erkan always saying about, we're in a goldfish bowl and we're swimming around in this murky water, and somebody reaches in and pulls you out and shakes you off, and you go, oh wow, there's this whole other world out there and this is different and I love it. And then you get thrown back in the water and you're like, oh, this water, it's so dirty and I don't like it and I want to be out there. And then after a while, you kind of get used to the dirty water again. You don't even see it. That you don't, because you're in it all the time. You don't see what the problems are, and then you go back to that. And if you're lucky, you recognise it and go, "Oh, I'm having that same argument again. Oh, we're going through this all over again." And then
I mean, when I first came across Tony Robbins, I guess it was one of the first major courses I did, and I did initially wonder what the hell I'd walked into. But once I got on with it, I liked it. But one of the things that you do on the courses, and they're quite kind of in NLP language visual, whereas there is a lot of kind of visual movement and a lot of jumping up and down and rah-rah. You come up with what they call your power move, and my power move was pretty dramatic, until somebody said to me, how the hell are you going to use that in the office when you want to get energized?
Would you like to demonstrate? What was your power move?
And quickly I realized actually it wasn't very user friendly in the public environment. You were actually embarrassed to do anything like that outside of that room.
Yeah, it's interesting. I remember Amy Cuddy on a TED talk talking about empowering yourself. You should just go to the toilet and stand there and do your power moves so that you can actually raise your vibration and raise your energy in order to feel better. But like you say, sometimes it's not that convenient to go off and do the rah-rah.
Unfortunately for me, I discovered that actually you could achieve everything without having to do those things, because everything that I teach now still achieves the same result, but it's done internally. But only you are aware that you're actually doing anything. And so I've been speaking to, say, a group of 300 people. I walk out to the front, I turn around, and internally my brain goes, "Oh shit." At that point, you can't do the power moves.
No.
What I'm doing is I'm practicing internally what I teach, and so nobody in the audience has any idea that I'm actually tricking myself.
Yes, yeah.
Because all they see is what I want them to see.
Yeah.
And I can still do what I need to do. I can relay all the information without forgetting things. Everything looks great, and it is great because I just applied everything internally without having to show anything on the outside.
I like the idea of remembering everything. That's a daily challenge for me. It's sort of what was I going to say next? I forgot what I was going to say next. One of the things that one of our collaborators did share with us was about at one of the masterclasses was her thought field therapy that she does. Have you come across, obviously, emotional field therapy?
Yeah.
Thought field therapy apparently is like the next one on. I don't know if you disagree with that, but that's what I've been told. And one of the things that she told us about was squeezing the fingernail bed so that your endorphins can kind of make you feel awake. And she said, try it the next time you feel nervous. And I'm like, I'm not often nervous. And then the very next weekend, Erkan and I were at an event, and we'd been given an opportunity to talk to, 300 people for 5 minutes to say, in essence, what you need to say in a very short space of time. When normally we talk and we have half an hour, and we can go on, which is easy. But when you only have 5 minutes and you've got to say so I was hearing this person introducing us, and I was first up, and I knew I only had a few minutes to do this thing. And I could feel the butterflies go. I could feel the nerves going. And I'm like, I don't get nervous in front of the room. What's going on? Oh my goodness. So I was like, okay, Kay, do your thing. So I did this squeezing the finger thing. Because at the point I knew that I would get so nervous if I didn't do something that I'd be standing there and go, what's my name? It would have been that much of a blank that I wouldn't have been able to not only not deliver a decent talk in that short space of time, but also, one, I'd miss the point, and two, I would look an idiot. And it's that fear of falling on your face, isn't it? So I just literally did that while I was waiting for them to, all of a sudden I could a clear mind, and I went on and I did it, and I'm like, whoa, this is a miracle, this is amazing. So I guess what you're teaching people is a similar version of that, but in a more holistic sense around all the things that are going on for them. So give us an example of a success story. Tell us a success story that you've had with one of your clients.
Okay. Gosh,
it's hard, isn't it? Pick one from 20.
Okay. This is the one that came to mind, and it's a story that I actually relate on one of my seminars. So it is a bit extreme, but if it's okay, I'll share that. So he was a client, a lady who was referred to me many years ago, and I'd come across some more or a different way of doing some of the stuff I was already doing. So a kind of not completely different, but it was enough for me to want to learn about it. And so I'd gone away, learned about it, but I hadn't really applied it with anybody. And this lady, and her name was Lisa, and I got permission just to share her story from her. She came to me. She was referred by a chiropractor who said to me, there's nothing physically wrong with her, but she has all these pains. Would you mind seeing her? You might be able to do something. And in those days, I worked a bit differently to the way that I work now. So I agreed to see her. Nowadays, I kind of interview people before I meet them as to whether or not it'd be a kind of a good match for both of us to work with each other. In those days, I had a quick chat on the phone, and she came over. Now, she came from London, so she came by train to Birmingham, and I picked her up from the station and took her back to the place I was working at, the office. One thing I noticed, straight up at the station, she was standing there, and it was like a chain smoker type of smoking, because she was extremely nervous. And I knew a bit about what she'd been through, but I didn't know the detail. And I realized my mistake as soon as I started speaking with her, because I said to her, okay, Lisa, so tell me a bit about yourself, because the chiropractor said that she can't really find anything wrong with you. And she was very quiet when we got back. She wasn't smoking, so she was kind of looking even more nervous. And she said, well, it started 7 years ago. And I thought, okay, I wonder what was going to come. And she said, I was on a holiday with my brother, and he committed suicide whilst we were on holiday. And the basic sort of the some of the story is they came back, or she came back, and her mother blamed her for not being around when the brother died. And through police investigations or whatever else had happened, they found out that actually the reason her brother had committed suicide was he'd been raped whilst he was out one of the evenings. So he'd gone out on his own, and he couldn't deal with it, I guess, and he committed suicide. But she said, I never really had a good relationship with my mother, and it got even worse. And quite often I thought of taking my own life, and then the only reason I didn't was I thought, I don't want my friends to go through what I've been through. Now remember, she's saying this very quietly. She's very nervous. She's speaking quietly, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm not sure I'm going to help her. And she said, and after about 18 months, I was finally getting over it. And then I came home, and there was a letter on the table, and it was a suicide note from her mother.
Oh my goodness.
And I was still okay until she told me what the note said. And the note had only 3 words: it's your fault. And I thought, and excuse the language, but how the F do I help this person?
Yeah, that's tragic.
Because it just blew my mind, because I'd never come across somebody who'd been through that sort of experience. And the only thing I could think of was this course I'd been on a few weeks earlier, and I thought, I'm going to just
give it a go
with this. And so we worked for probably the best part of 2 hours or so before she had to catch her train back. And she seemed, there were a lot of tears. She went away, and then she was due to come back 2 weeks later, but I phoned her about a week later just to check in. And I guess I wasn't listening that much, because on the phone she'd said, I'm okay. But when she came back, I said to her, Lisa, okay, let's pick up where we left off. And she said, no, I'm okay. It's okay. I did what you asked me to do. I continued to practice the method you taught me. And as we spoke, I realized 7 years of pain had just gone within, just a few hours.
Wow.
And I realized for the first time the power of some of the work that I come across, because to me, this, even today, many, many years later, I'm talking about 15 years later, this is still an extreme case of somebody in pain. And so we spent the next 2 sessions, because she was scheduled to see me for 3 sessions, working on other issues like self-confidence and self-esteem, which had taken a knock with everything that had happened. And I touched base with her a few years later. I don't know where she is now, but at that time, she was happily married. She had her own child now. And it kind of, what I remember, one of the things she said to me in that initial talk was, I'm fed up and I'm going to give this one more go. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to give up. But because I didn't know her full story, I didn't know what to give up. It was only later on I realized maybe she was talking about giving up as in suicide. I don't know, but for her,
it's kind of good that you didn't know, because that would have been incredible amount of pressure on you to. So that's the power of some of the stuff that you do. And so do you
the beauty is it was all verbal. There was nothing kind of we had to do physically.
So do you find the people that come to you are in desperation stakes, or is it somebody that would come along and say, I've had a row with someone and I can't get over it.
There's been a change. When I came across this, I was coming at this from more of a therapeutic angle. So I saw a lot of people who are in pain for different reasons. I worked with a lot of